as an approach, and as the whole structure is all about following an approach which would lead us to an end. So going by that, we follow an approach where we design it first.
So coming to this particular mules of case, okay, anything, okay. So whenever you want to construct something, so first of all, you will try to draw it. Hey, let us say you are constructing a house. You need a design that, hey, the column should be like this, the room size should be something like this, okay. The floor plan should be something like this. The staircase should be, like this. Something like you need a definite plan to build or construct that particular entity or project or whatever it is. Okay, so here also we are trying to do the same thing. So we are designing the API in such a way that, hey, I want the request payload something like this, I want the response is something like this. Okay, I need these kind of validations. I want the field should be something like this length. So this kind of structuring you are doing, and you're naming your resource. Hey, my resource name is something like this. I'm talking about this thing. You're putting some method. Hey, I'm trying to create this particular thing, or I'm trying to get this particular information. So you're trying to specify that particular thing. That is what we call it as API specification. Okay, so when someone is asking, hey, why we are creating design center reset first, because you are giving some insight to other people, okay, who are actually looking at your asset and they are trying to implement that. Okay, so let us try to see a simple, simplified manner. So we do have something like a system API. Okay, we do have some experience API, and an external system is trying to call this particular experience API. Okay, this is the functional flow that we are trying to look at it, right? So this particular external system is calling this particular experience API. Okay, so this is my experience API. Okay, so this particular experience API will ultimately call a process API. Okay, so this particular process API will call what? Which API it will try to call?
System
API.
System API. Okay, so this is my system API. So these are fundamental, guys. Okay, so make sure that you understand properly. Okay, why we are doing like this. Okay, so ultimately this guy is going to call what system? The system API.
Database also.
source.
Some keyword. Keyword.
Endpoint target.
Market system. Okay.
External or target system. So this external system is nothing but your source. Okay. Now try to understand this way. My target system.
But still, RAML we can define in any point studio also, right? If you are defining any data types like that, attributes like that.
But Exchange is not there.
Just give me some time. So we'll try to see why we are doing it over there. Why not in any point studio? Okay. So based upon my target system, what my target system is expecting. So I will look at that particular external system and I will try to see, hey, this guy is expecting this kind of structure. Okay, then only it is trying to create this particular organization. Okay, so based upon this, okay, based upon this particular request structure and response structure, what I will try to define? I will try to define this particular system API. I will define this particular system API. Okay, so here I will try to write my RAML saying that, hey, I want to pass some request structure to this particular system. So anyone who is calling my system API, they need to pass similar kind of request. Whatever the response it is trying to send it to me, I'll try to send the same kind of response. This is my system API. Because system API level, what we are trying to do, we are trying to connect to this particular target system, nothing else. Okay. So we are trying to create this particular RAML. If you are creating inside your studio, what will happen? So you only can view that thing. Okay. So my process API is developed by some person. Let's say Ravi is building this particular process API. Just assume that. Okay. So he don't have the visibility what my system API is expecting. Okay. This particular system API is developing by let us say Neelu. Okay. So I'm a team lead. I just gave it to this process API to Ravi and this particular system API to Neelu, experience API to someone else. Okay, Helen or someone. Okay. So I just gave it on like, okay, sorry if your names or spellings are wrong, but take it in a lighter note. Okay. So I will try to give it on Monday saying that, hey, we got a new API. So we got 3 members. I'll try to distribute this particular thing to 3 different persons. Everyone needs to, work independently, like parallel. Okay. But some dependency is there. So experience API needs to call process API needs to call system API is depending on target system. So this kind of ecosystem, how you will try to create in a parallel way. Okay, so the first foremost thing, Neelu will try to create a RAML inside Exchange. Sorry, inside your design center, and she will try to push it back to Exchange. Why she is putting it back to Exchange? So that Ravi is not going to interact directly with Neelu. Hey, Neelu, so what is the RAML? No, he's not going to ask that way. So he is directly going to Exchange and he will try to visualize, hey, this is the request that Neelu system API is expected. That particular system API is expected. So which means that I got how to call this particular system API. Based upon this, what I will try to do, I will try to define my own, request response. Okay. So however, so to pass this particular request response, I need to get some more details. So those details, whoever is calling to me, so they need to pass it. Okay. So he is going to specify that particular thing, guys. Okay. So he's going to specify his request. Which request? Process API request he's going to define. And he's going to define his response. Okay. Process API response. He will try to push it back to Exchange. So this particular process API, who is going to use it? Helen Experience API needs to use it, which means that to call this particular process API, he get to know, okay, so this particular API is required these particular parameters, requires this particular request. Okay, he will try to give this particular response based upon it. Okay, so Helen is going to define his request responses, which means that she is going to, define this particular response, request response. Okay, so once this is constructed, who is going to see it? External system. You will simply say that, hey, try to, get this particular exchange. Okay, and try to see this is what I'm expecting. So the external system who is actually calling this particular, experience API, they will get some insight. Hey, this particular experience API. So if I want to create this particular organization structure, I need to pass this kind of. So that's why we are designing first. Okay. So you're just trying to design the RAML. You're not actually implementing inside your endpoint studio. You're creating that particular structure. The moment I see that particular structure as an external system source, let us say I'm a SFTC guy. So I see this particular thing. Okay. So I want to push it back to OSV system. So I'm depending on MuleSoft. So these MuleSoft guys are created some structure. So they created some requests, they created some response. Okay. If I pass this particular request, they are internally doing something and they are giving the response back saying that this particular organization is created. But at least from my perspective, as a SFDC guy, I want to pass this kind of request parameters and everything. That is what my expectation as SFDC guy. Okay. So I'll not interact with the developers. I'm not sure who is the developer. Okay. So architect is going to provide that particular exchange URL, and I will try to open that particular exchange URL, and I will try to see, hey, this is request, this is response, something like. Okay, that's why we are trying to design first, so that the moment he sees that design, he will also implement his side of development. Which means that if I want to call that particular experience API, or I want to call to that particular RESTful API, I need to develop something, right? In my SFTC system, I need to create some screens. The moment I'm clicking on submit button, I need to capture that particular fields and I need to pass it to this particular experience API. So that level of, information will be provided by your exchange, not your Anypoint Studio. Okay, so that's why we are not doing in Anypoint Studio. We are defining these particular structures inside your design center, and we will publish it to exchange. Okay, once we publish it, someone is going to review it and they are going to pass it to the next layers. Okay, is this particular concept clear? Why we are doing design first and why we are doing it inside design center?
Yeah.
Hi, Amar.
Mhm.
These three layers are we are designing the independently or dependent one after one.
See, you're developing it independently, but internally it will depend. Why it will depend? So one system needs to call the other thing, right? So that dependency, you will try to see it in exchange. Okay. But ultimately, you will not interact with each and every time, hey, what is this? What is that? No, you will not do that. You will try to see exchange. That's it. That's your source of truth. So
We
if you
need
are
to understand. We need to understand like what is the request we're getting, how we are sending the response that we need to take care of.
Exactly. So that particular exchange will give you all the insight. Hey, what that particular system API is. So that is what we call it as contract, guys. Okay. So it is a contract between your process API and system API. Okay. System API is expecting this particular request. The process API is expecting or accepting that. Hey, system API, if I want to call you, so I will try to send this particular kind of request. That's okay. I'm pretty much good. Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
this is what we call it as contracts. So this contract is between your target system and system API to process API to experience API to your external system. These are all contracts. Okay. So in catchy word, they will try to call contracts, but it is a personal agreement saying that, hey, if I want to interact with you, this is the communication that we need, right? So if you are talking in Germany, so I need to have some communication saying that, hey, I need to politely put it my words or my thoughts in your understandable language, right? So the way that you're expecting, so I need to put it that way. So this is what we are defining inside your RAM. So we are doing a design first approach to make other layers, process or implement their layers independently in parallel. Okay, which means that if we are defining this way, multiple people are going to implement their systems parallelly. But here, the only catch is system API guys are going to work first. They will try to create a RAML. They will give it to process APIs, 1 or 2 hours. Okay, hardly. Like we will take it to only RAML side. It will take 2 hours or 3 hours. That's it. After 3 hours, I will try to give it to process API guy. I will communicate him. Hey, I try to push it back to exchange, try to take it over there and try to implement your stuff. The process API guy is going to implement that. Okay, so he will, give it to experience API. So he will try to create that particular, request response, and he will try to define his RAML, and he will give it to external system. The mocking URL. So we have a mocking URL, right? So what is that mocking URL?
Mocking means it will
And then
be
template
public
we're providing
public
to
level
the
access.
stakeholders.
It's a
Dummy.
public API or some dummy API where
Okay.
you are pushing some request. It will give some sample response. That's it. Once you are actually developing and pushing it, the same response you will align it in your development, because you are creating a contract. This is how I will try to give it. So you are doing it first day itself, which means that, so let us say you're purchasing a house. Okay. On the agreement, he is going to specify, hey, you will get this kind of shared bedrooms, or you are going to get this kind of structure. Okay. This kind of tiles we will try to use, this kind of taps we will try to use. So that is the agreement with your contractor and you. Okay. So he is going to align to that particular thing whenever he is going to complete your construction of your house, right? So that is the way that we are trying to define. So we will give a contract saying that, hey, we will try to send the request and response this structure. So please try to make use of this particular request response and try to define your layer. Even after end of our development, we are going to align to that particular request response only. If there is any change that we are going to add it, let's say new fields are going to add it. So first of all, we will try to do it in design center, we'll publish it to Exchange, and we will inform to experience APIs, or whoever the layer, which layer your application is dependent. Okay, so you are trying to inform them. Okay, so this is like your delegation of your process. Okay, so this one you need to understand very pretty much clear, because this is how we need to develop. Okay, it's not like you will start with experience API, you will start with process API. No. So first of all, system API RAML needs to be constructed. Then it needs to give it to some other person. Then so it needs to create like that. Okay. Any questions here?
Yes, little bit confused. So target system means that other person requesting, right?
Target system. Okay, so let's say, so here
The source and target. Source means from we are designing, that is source. From our end, that is source.
okay, just take this particular example only. Okay, so we are creating an API between which systems?
Source and target.
No,
The,
so this, the actual real external systems that we are creating. Which
SFDC and
API we are
OSDC.
okay.
SFDC to
and-
OSVC. Okay.
Okay.
So what we are actually doing?
From SFDC, we are sending something to the OSVC.
What is that thing?
So
Organization
that-
data we are passing from
Yeah.
SFDC to OSVC, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here SFDC, the left side part, is your source system. Okay. To what system? Okay. So we are passing it to
DSVC is the
target system. Okay.
Yeah.
So whenever
Okay.
you're
But
pushing
when
the
we
data,
saw the diagram, when we saw the diagram, but it's in opposite manner, like see.
is it?
So first, opposite manner means first it is showing external system source, right?
Just a moment. Let me clear drawings. Let me close this. Let me open that. Real time. So what is this? Target or source?
This is source.
Source. Okay. Sorry.
So
I'm
SFDC is the
bad.
source.
And this is my target system.
Target.
Okay. So we are trying to, interact with this particular target system using this particular external URL.
Okay.
Okay. So we are trying to see, hey, this is what it is expecting. This is my expectation. Okay. So how to draw this particular, so where we are actually getting this particular expectation. So in the data mapping sheet, you will try to see what field it is expecting, what value it is expecting, something like that. Okay. So we got this particular request payload by looking at our data mapping sheet. Okay. So let me close this. Okay. Sorry. Clear all the drawings, close it. Let me open Cygnus, data mapping sheets, organization information. Okay, let me open this.
నేను మీరు అనేది ఏంటంటే ఇక్కడ డ్రా చేశారు కదా అది ఆపోజిట్ మేనర్ లో ఉందంటే అనిపిస్తుంది నాకు. ఇప్పుడు డ్రా చేశారు కదా పెయింట్ లో యాక్చువల్ గా డిఎఫ్డి టైపు. సో ఆ డిఎఫ్డి ఇక్కడ ఇది నేను అనేది ఏంటంటే ఫస్ట్ మనం ఓకే మన సోర్స్ ఇది సోర్స్ ని ఎక్స్టర్నల్ సిస్టమ్ అంటున్నారు మీరు.
సోర్స్ టార్గెట్ కూడా ఎక్స్టర్నల్ సిస్టమ్స్ అండి.
ఓకే. సో సోర్స్ తర్వాత మనం రెమెల్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తాం. సో మనకి రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఇది. సో ఆ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ లో మ్యాపింగ్ షీట్ తీసుకుని ఓకే మనకి ఈ కాలమ్స్ ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి బేస్డ్ ఆన్ దట్ వి విల్ క్రియేట్ ఎ రెమెల్. నెక్స్ట్ వి విల్ దీన్ని ప్రాసెస్ ఏపీఐకి ఫార్వర్డ్ చేస్తాం. అంటే మీరు ఇట్లా డిజైనింగ్ ఇలా ఇస్తారా? నేను అనుకోవడం రాంగ్
The flow will be something like this. But the RAML flow is what we are doing is, first of all, we are constructing the system API one first.
First system API, then we will give
So
it the
RAML
process.
side, you are going in a backward approach, something like this.
Okay. Yes, correct.
Okay. The
నేను
flow
అనేది
wise,
ఇలా వచ్చింది. Okay.
the flow wise, this is the flow. So this is
Okay.
what we call it as backward approach of your RAML design, because
Okay.
you are trying to insert into OSVC system, so it will have, or it will enforce a strict validation. So you need to consider the first here, the validation. So what it is expecting. Okay, your expectations. So this is expecting something. So you need to construct. Okay, so what it is expecting. Okay, so this particular expectation will be driven by this thing. Okay, so which means that, so e particular expectation reach అవ్వాలంటే ఇక్కడ RAML proper గా డిజైన్ చేయాలి. Okay, so this is what you have, your backward approach of your RAML design. But the functional flow is something like, you know, external system to experience API to process API, something like this. Okay.
నేను ఈ బ్యాక్వర్డ్ లో ఇలా ఆలోచించాను యాక్చువల్ గా.
Yeah.
అందుకు.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, so let me save this. Right. So any questions other than this one? Anything?
Amar, do we have for each layer we have a separate data mapping sheets or how?
So generally, we don't have something like that, but to be precise, some companies will follow that approach as well. Okay, so that will be there in the technical design documents. Okay, so in technical design documents, they will try to specify every layer what it is expecting, what it is giving it to some other system. But from architect level, I don't bother about so what your internal systems are doing. So I will try to bother about what my target system is expecting, what my source system is giving. Okay, so based upon that particular piece of information, so I'll try to construct this particular layers. Okay, but the bare minimum, and మీకు ఎలా చెప్పాలంటే ఒక ఆర్కిటెక్ట్ very lower level details he is not going to bother about. So he is going to define the standards at generic level. So as a developer, you need to construct that. Okay, but whenever you're writing your technical design document, some companies will force you to write down in each layer what is your request, what is your response, and they will try to ask you to create this kind of spreadsheet, and you need to create something like experience API. So what is expected? Okay, process API, what is expecting, what is giving. So system API, what is expecting, what is giving, something like that they will try to. So it is just like, you know, field level changes. Okay, which means that what is the field name, that's it. Okay, so what is the conversion that we're doing. So it depends upon project to project, but that level of detailing we don't, to be precise, we don't really require, because we do have exchanges that will represent how the structures will be. So that's why we ultimately use exchanges. Okay, so our endpoint exchange will be used only for that particular purpose.
Okay, got it.
Right, so let us try to take this. Okay, so we are just trying to create this particular API, guys. Okay, so we need to interact with the OSVC system to create this particular organization's information. Okay, for that particular purpose, we are trying to create a RAML. Okay, so here we are creating a RAML. Okay, so this one we are going to use it to construct our thing. Okay, so we created some resource type and we put it into a resource type file, organizations.raml, pretty much good. Okay, so organizations request.json. So what my system API is expecting. So it is expecting this thing, which means that I will not do any transformation. I will try to directly give it to my external system. So whatever my external system is expecting, so I'm going to expect in the system API request. Okay, so here I'm expecting whatever this guy is expecting. So I'm just trying to write only connectivity part. How to connect to this particular system, what username, what password, I'm trying to write it here. Nothing else I'm going to write it. No transformations, nothing. Okay, the bare minimum transformation I will try to do is application to JSON, that's it, nothing else. If this particular system, if we are getting some data from this particular system, okay, it is giving a XML data, I'll try to convert into application JSON. Okay, I'll try to convert into camel casing the fields, that's it. Nothing else I will try to do inside your system API. Make sure that the transformation logics, we will try to write it in the experience layers and process layers, not in the system APIs. Only connectivity part. Okay, process APIs. What we will do in process APIs?
All the
Business
business
logics.
validations.
Business validations, orchestration. Okay, all the necessary stuff we will try to do it in process APIs.
Medium gun large.
Okay, all right. So experience API. Experience API lo em vastandi. So what we will try to do it in experience API.
All the endpoints required.
Okay, if my experience API is expecting some kind of like format, okay, that kind of transformation we will try to do it in experience API. So my external system is expecting some kind of format. Okay, so I want the feed should be something like this, or that kind of restructuring, that we will try to do it in your experience APIs. Okay, we'll try to see piece by piece. Okay, sometimes I will not go with process API at all. I will directly connect my experience API to system API. We don't follow 3-layer architecture. We can go for 2-layer architecture also. Okay, so if I don't have orchestration, if I don't have business, logic, a simple business transformation we have it, then I will go with experience API, system API. I don't require a process API. It is an unnecessary burden for my client to maintain this particular instance. Okay, so we are not married to this particular 3-layer architecture at all every time. Okay, so we are looking at that particular concept, that is nothing but your 2-layer architecture, and we are building that right now. Because if you look at this particular thing, so we only have 2 layers. One is experience layer and one is system layer. We don't have a process layer. Why do we need process layer if orchestration is not there? Okay, we don't require at all. So this is a 2-layer architecture. So we will try to come up with a process API in between whenever we are calling multiple system APIs and consolidating that particular, construction of REST. So we'll try to see it in point to point, but at least at this particular moment, we are constructing this particular system API only. Okay, so these are the basic stages. Okay, so if you are comfortable with these basics, you're good to go. Okay, so at least whenever you're getting a requirement, so you will look at that particular requirement in a different perspective. Okay, all right, so any questions here?
So 2-layer
Sir,
architecture.
in system API, we do have the requirements of external API or external system request only, no?
So we'll try to take it how my external system is expecting, because I will not do any transformation here. Okay, or else, okay, I will try to get it only plain object model. I'll do bare minimum transformation, but that is like so mostly we will try to not to do it. So that is non-standard way of doing it. So whatever my external system is expecting, that particular hierarchy I will try to create in process layer or experience layer, and I will try to pass it as application JSON. If my external system is expecting application XML, that particular transformation, I will try to do it inside your system layer. Okay, but most of the systems are expecting application JSON at least this particular moment of time. My external system of OSVC is expecting a application JSON, so I don't require to do any transformation inside my system layer at all. Okay, so this is the request and this is the response it is giving. So we are not doing any transformation. We are just trying to write down a connectivity part. That's okay. So let us try to implement this particular RAML. Okay, so any questions other than this?
If 2-layer means it will maximum very less days to develop, right? Maybe.
Okay, so less days, less maintenance, less headache. Okay, so why we will go with process layers are very specific scenarios. Okay, so it depends upon your
So
yeah,
okay,
go.
the requirements mostly it will come 80 or 20 or 80% will be with 3-layer, right? Or 2-layer.
So mostly, I mean, so it depends upon your project case. Okay, so if your
Maybe
project
yes,
is
yes. There is a foolish
very
question. I know.
low, yeah. Okay, so let us try to take this particular example. So in my previous project, we implemented something like 4,000 different APIs. 4,000 APIs means not resources, APIs, which means that system APIs experience, which means that we do have something like 2,800 external systems. Okay, so that is a very big project. So in that thing, if I go with all the time in this particular process APIs, my count will increase to 6,000 different jars or different mules of projects. Okay, so I'll not accommodate that way. So that is the delegation I will try to take it. In that particular scenario, I'll not go with or not tied with this particular 3-layer architecture until and unless there is like orchestration is required. Until and unless there is too much business logic that we need to write it. Okay, too many transformations that we need to write it. Or we need to call some other system APIs and consolidate it. So that is what we call it as orchestration, which means that your one system is not giving all the data. So you need to get it into multiple systems. Like Salesforce is giving some data, SAP is giving some data. Okay, some other HR system is giving some billing information. I need to collect all these things and I need to construct one particular payload and I need to give it to external system. Then I will go with the process API. So if it is bare minimum transformation, why I need to go with the 3-layer architecture? It is an additional headache for me. But if your projects are very tiny, okay, that's okay to maintain some process API. Even there is a bare minimum transformation, you can go with that particular. Okay, but trust me, this kind of decisions will be taken care by your architects, not you. Okay, they are going to specify this particular architectural diagram. Hey, this is what I need it. Okay, they are going to specify. They are going to specify the sequence diagram. From this, we need to call this. We need to call this particular API. We need to call this particular API. The resource should be something like this. So this is your architect headache, not yours. Okay, clear? No? Should I take it as
Clear.
this? Okay.
Yes.
Right. So anything that you are confused or if you are not able to understand, hey, Amar, this particular thing is not able to understand. So try to put it that way. Okay. So I'll try to explain in a different, way, or I'll take a different example or something like that. So I'll try to put it, in a right way. Okay. Don't keep it inside your brain and, you don't suffer. Okay. So you can call me or my WhatsApp number and you can clarify your doubts. Okay. So while, I'm moving to my office, I'll try to take the calls. Okay. So if you try to ping me, so at least I will try to call at that time. Okay. Clear?
Okay. So my actually I will explain. So if any error or something, you can. Okay. So first of all, we based on the diagram as I observed. So there is an first I will take what is the request, what is the response and request the client requests.
The
Okay,
external
then
system, the target system.
yes. So the target system, yes. So what they required. So based on that, same we will take the we will create one ramel. Okay.
Based upon this, you will create this particular ramel.
Ramel. Then after that, we will create some business logics. So what is the map? What is the output they required? So the entire these fields, what one minute. Maybe, yeah. So we will we'll do the transformation using some in between using the AnyPoint Studio. So up to that process, I can understand. So is it any wrong in between? So what I explained. Oh, okay. Then so that is happened. So after this happen, then we will deploy it. Okay, we will not deploy directly. We will check it in Postman. So what is the output is coming?
Sorry, don't take the whole thing right now. So just try to understand this piece.
So
okay,
this
we
is
will try
up
to go
here,
that.
correct, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
So we will
So
try to
actually, I'm
consider.
a little bit confusing this source and target sometimes. Actually,
Yeah, that's okay.
Right.
So we'll keep it in a lighter note. Okay. So once you complete
Okay.
your course, even if you still have that particular doubt, I will try to clarify that. Okay?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. So this is just like, the benefit of the time for all the others. Okay. Fine, guys. So, okay, what else we need to create it? Okay, so we are creating this particular thing yesterday. So we just created descriptions, body, something, examples, responses. We created this thing. So what is missing piece here? And anything that you learned it that we are not implemented here?
Status codes.
Response status codes for what?
If it is successful,
code
we are
is-
sending, right? If something, anything is wrong or failing, we need to showcase, right?
Yeah, cool. That is nothing but your error responses. Yes, we need to add error responses, but that one we will try to see it whenever we are creating exception handling. But at least this particular node, yeah, to be precise, what else we need to add?
A security
Resource,
layer.
security. Okay, security, which means that I need to create some client ID, client secret, then only I need to authenticate this particular piece. Okay, which means that, so who is going to call this particular system API? Which layer is going to call this thing? Which layer?
Processor experience layer.
Experience.
This call the
Process
system.
layer or experience API is going to call it. So either here or here.
Mostly, I think experience. Yeah, both are, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so if it is a 3-layer architecture, process layer is going to call it. If it is only 2-layer architecture, your experience API is going to call system API. Okay, but I don't want to call it directly. Okay, so whoever is having this particular resource path, they should not. I need to create some security context, right? So that particular security context, how we are going to create it? Using your client enforcement, client ID enforcement. Okay, so that is, so these are like my internal applications. So I can go with 2 routes. One is my HTTPS, which is for encryption. The second one is with your client ID enforcement. These 2 things that I will try to take it. Okay. First of all, let us try to take down the client ID enforcement. The HTTPS later point of we will try to define it, but at least this particular moment of time. So I need to call or I need to add some headers, which is a client ID, client secret. Why not headers? Why not query parameters? I'm saying that headers. We can also pass some information to query parameters also, right? URL parameters also, something like a body also. There are 4 different things that I have. Which scenario we are going to use what? How to pass some information to my RESTful API. That is what I'm trying to understand.
See,
How many ways?
Actually, basic auth. The thing is,
Basic
so
auth will
basic
not
auth,
use it.
no. Basic auth. Just I'm saying, client ID, client secret. These are credential we will give to the cloud. From cloud we will get this Azure cloud means Active Directory, we will get the registration. So then we will get this client ID, client secret, everything.
That is a word-based authentication. What we are explaining here is the any point platform client ID, client secret enforce.
Okay.
Okay, so for internal apps, so that's how we will try to define it. Okay, so
if we use query parameters, the query parameters serve a different purpose. They serve the purpose of filtering the information or the payload which is used. So
Yes.
cool.
this is the purpose, and headers do the part of adding up the other information.
That is a format application by JSON. So that type of format it will come well passing the headers actually.
So it is an additional information which is not for business logic. Any additional information that we want to communicate a RESTful API, we will try to pass it in headers. URI parameters. What about this thing?
So this entire will get suppose we have number of departments. So specific department we can identify using not like that. Just for example, suppose we have different departments. So I mentioned only department in the URI parameter. So based on that, we will get the list of departments in that specific that one.
Okay, so something like a specific information. Hey, I'm calling a employee information. So I want a specific employee details. Also, I need to pass a unique ID of that particular. So my URL structure is something like employee/ID, something like that. I will try to specify. Okay, so this is how we will try to use this particular URI parameters. Okay, query parameters, filtering information. So this is also filtering information, but it is at larger scale. Okay, so something like employee name. So we will not have employee name inside our this thing. Okay, where our URI parameters generally. Okay, so any specific primary keys or unique keys we will try to specify in URI parameters. Query parameters will try to use it for filtering or criterial information. Criteria. Okay, so which means that filtration criteria only. So we will try to use query parameter. Body. What we will try to send it in body? In which scenarios?
In body means when you posting the data.
Mhm.
So at the time we will use the body. So there we can
This
pass
is
the what are the required
object
values.
information or
Update
resource information. Yes.
resource
Okay.
information.
Okay. Very specific to that particular resource. Hey, this particular organization will have name, okay, address. Okay, so you're trying to talk about that particular object that you will try to send it in body. Okay, hey, I want the organizations, okay, which is located in this particular address, or the organizations which the revenue is something more than this particular thing. That criteria we will try to send it in query parameters. ARA parameters. I am talking about only one organization. Organization slash ID is equal to 1 or something like that. A very specific one resource. URI parameters. Headers. Any additional parameter or information, security context. Hey, username, password. Okay, so something like your client ID, client secret, your source metadata. Okay, so this is something called metadata. Okay, so these are the keywords, guys. Okay, so don't worry too much about it. What is this metadata? So it is a new keyword. So I don't know, sir. No, don't worry about that. So we'll try to see piece by piece, but at least you need to, keep that particular word inside your mind at some part. We'll try to relate that thing later point of time. So we are trying to pass some metadata that is nothing but it is not related to any business logic to my thing. It is just trying to authenticate or to interact with that particular system. I'm trying to pass this particular metadata. Okay, that client ID, client secret is nothing but my metadata to authenticate that particular service. So we will try to pass that information inside your headers. Okay, so let us try to create some what resource type we need to create for client ID, client secret, or any other thing?
No, security, we have to create one security file. Then we have to mention that
How to create that?
OAuth, so there is, we have to mention that client ID, client secret, some values are there. I have to check client ID, client. You can select
Okay,
it here,
so
security. Yeah, right.
here you can select security schema.
Security schema, right? Yeah.
Okay, to be precise, we
So-
can't, I mean, so not everything we will try to create that way. So we can add it, right? Or you can add a fragment. Okay, security schema is also fine, but most of the time, so we will try to add it, right? Which is nothing but a client ID credential. Okay, so get me something, guys. Okay, this is one good thing. Try to add a security schema. Okay, so I'm just adding a simple trait. Okay, so we will try to take it in a simplistic manner. We'll try to add a trait here. Okay, but try to take it like how to add a security schema, and you need to define your client ID, client secret. Take that some simple example. Okay, so this is what you need to understand. So most of the projects will have a simple trait where we will have client ID enforcement. So very strict business, banking, or very specific financial domains, they will strictly define a security schema. Okay, get some example how to define your security schema. Okay, so just take it in a lighter note. Okay, see, whenever I'm explaining something, okay, so I'll try to see some additional properties in some connectors. We might not use every time in the projects, but at least if I'm trying to ask you, hey, get some information on this particular thing, so try to see that at some corners case or some specific scenario, you might get that particular thing, not in your interviews but in your real time. Okay, so try to get that information. So it might take you like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, case, not more than that. So if you are trying to pay that particular attention, you'll get most of it. Okay, so let us try to create something. Okay,
I have one question in between.
Mhm.
Suppose see, we will give the that client ID, client secret. In the postman we are passing that value, right? So we are checking, the client also will checking when we give to the external person. In the postman he will check, right? SIT person or UAT person, and the SIT or UAT, they will check that postman, that link what we give to them. So they are using also client ID, client secret. They will pass and they will check the what is the request and the response is getting, right? So this is implemented.
They are going to check only your experience. We are not going to give the
They are
system
not
API client ID.
passing. Okay, the
Client
client ID,
secret.
client secret, no one will check.
No, actually, we will give it to them. Okay, but from experience API perspective. Okay.
Okay.
So I mean, see, none of your external systems are directly hitting your postman. So initially they will try to hit it, but they will try to configure inside your application, inside their application. Okay,
Actually,
they will test.
what I get the doubt is, so while we are testing, we are in the headers, we are passing the client ID, client secret, that value we are passing. So we will give to some other also, they will test with that client ID, client secret. But they are developing into our API into the some UI, means you can say in Angular, some other technology, they are using that API. Okay, there they're not using the client ID, client secret, right?
No, they will use it. They should.
They should.
Yeah.
Client ID, client secret. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So because you are creating a context, security context. Okay, so you will not expose your API publicly. Okay, so they need to have some authentication, but that client ID, client secret, we will try to create a different client application. Internally, we will try to create one more application, and external users, we will try to create one more application.
So our APIs, when we develop the our APIs, so that APIs will be used in some UIs, right? Some right there. I haven't, but still no. From my point of view, I haven't seen anyone is passing that values, client ID, client secret. In
Okay, so how they are actually authenticating your experience API?
Suppose I'll give an example. One JSON, one JSON is there actually.
So we'll take it after the class,
Okay.
Ravi. Okay, because the other people might confuse this particular whole thing, because they haven't gone through the end of the thing, right? So I will try to take it after this particular thing. Okay, so guys, tell me what we are actually creating. What is this particular thread? Why we are creating a thread? What is the purpose of it? Yeah, go on.
To enhance the security of the
Yeah,
API.
enhancing security, client ID, client secret is fine. So why I'm creating thread? Why not any other thing? Why we are using thread? What's the purpose of threads?
Is it reusable?
Yeah, obviously. So
Yes.
thread is a
It is
reusable thing, right?
reusable. Yes, yeah, it is reusable.
Yes.
I asked a question. So why client ID?
Okay, so the purpose is like we could create a variable based on this, and in case there are changes required, we need not go and fetch the information in the main code, and we can just reach out to this particular file and make the required changes.
In security scheme
Okay,
also
so
will do same thing, I think so.
Yeah, you're doing a piece by piece implementation, guys. Okay, which means that this particular client ID, client secret, we need to add it in every, every resource that we are going to create it. So instead of adding this particular headers and whatever the additional information directly inside your resource type, okay, so you can directly write it over here also in the resource type. I can specify here, okay, so headers I can specify inside this thing. I can specify headers here also. I can type something like client ID, client secret. No, I don't want to do that way. Why? Because if I create a reusable component using a trait, so I can refer that particular trait directly like a simple keyword. Every time I'm exposing a resource, I can switch that particular thing, whether this particular thing needs to be added or not, simply. Okay. So if you are adding a security context, you are trying to add it at a higher level, but so it depends. Okay. Some of the APIs are not required for this particular client ID, client secret. Okay. Maybe like your, there will be something called health check resources or something like that. So they don't require this particular thing. So we are just trying to check it whether that particular thing is alive. So for that particular purpose, we are trying to add it right, and we are trying to add the client ID, client secret here, something like this. Okay, so I need to create this particular trait inside where? Inside my libraries. Okay, I need to create a new folder. Okay, I'm going to say traits. Okay, so I'm going to put it the trait here. Okay, so client ID, client secret I have written. Okay, so is it correct or not? Client ID, client secret. Secret. No. Just a moment. Okay, so I was very poor on this particular thing. Okay, the spellings. Okay, so client ID, client secret I have created. So these are required to call my system API. Okay, so I created this particular trait. See, whenever you are using resource type, so this is the fundamental question that they are going to ask, right? So what is a resource type and what is a trait? So what is a resource type? This is important for your interviews. What is a resource type?
Template of the
The
Resource type
reusable,
is just
A resource type would contain all the methods within the particular resource or request and response altogether.
Okay, what about trait?
A trait can contain other supporting information like security and other parts, like taken for example, the the other content whichever is essential for reusability in RML. We can particularly maintain different responses which can be used in multiple resources. Using
Okay.
that.
Right. So so if you closely look at trait and resource type, even inside your trait, you can define some methods also. Is it so? Have you tried it?
Yes,
Yes, of course, it takes the request,
can-
so it will
using indentation, we
contain the
can,
methods.
yeah, here.
Okay, so here I can specify something. Okay. Can I specify something like get method or something? Okay, so let us try to create something. Okay, one more trait. See, this is the things that you need to understand, guys. Okay, so you need to test it. Hey, what is it expecting? Okay, so here, what I can type it? Methods, can I type it?
Okay.
Methods. No, I'm not getting any methods, right? Okay,
No.
so I'm going to this resource type. Here I'm getting methods. You see the difference?
Hmm.
Okay, so anything that is common at API level, okay, at resource level, which means that the method level distribution or method level structures, I will try to put it in resource type. If I'm asking, if someone is asking, hey, what is trait? Anything that is common inside methods, I'll try to put it in trait. The common structures within the method, I'll try to put it in traits. The common structures within resources, the method level, okay, or sorry, the resource level, I'll try to put it in traits, resource types. Okay, so you will not a method level or methods, you can't define it inside your this thing. Which one? You can't define it inside your traits. Whereas your resource type is going to provide that particular method level, construction. Okay, so you need to understand, hey, resource type is talking about resource level. So methods, they are talking everything. Coming to trait, it doesn't have method level, definition. So anything inside your method, so we're talking about query parameters. Okay, we're talking about headers. Those kind of stuff, we will try to define it inside your traits. Okay, there is some scenarios where they are going to define all the responses inside your trait and they will try to add it. Okay, that thing also we will try to see it for the error responses. Okay, but at least at this particular moment of time, so you need to understand, trait will not have that particular get or methods, something like that. So it is having something like this level body. Okay, so it doesn't have methods, but whereas your resource type will have that particular. Okay, so you need to understand that way. Hey, any common stuff that is in method level, like headers, query parameters, or anything, so we'll try to create traits. Resource types are defined only for resource level, and resource types will have methods, get method, post method, or so all the methods that we are talking about one resource, we will try to put it in resource type. Okay, so you need to understand this thing. I mean, so if someone is asking on your interviews, you can put it your own words, but internally you need to understand. So what is the difference here? Okay, resource type and traits, both are using a similar concept. We can define this particular entire thing inside your trait also. Okay, but only thing is, so whenever we are practically implementing it, so the headers and query parameters, we will try to define it inside your trait, and the resource level, we will try to define the method level structures. Okay, so I defined this particular client ID credentials. I need to add that particular thing here, global level. Why we need to add it? Because I want to add this particular simple keyword inside my resource type here with some additional thing. Okay, so here I want to use that particular trait, so I need to globally define it. Okay, so here what I'm trying to do is inside my this thing, so make sure that resource types, traits. Okay. So I'm defining, so this is my client credentials or client ID enforcement. You can call it anything. So where exactly it is? So I'm going to define include, okay, libraries, rights, and client credentials. So this one, this particular keyword, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to going to my organizations data to this particular RAML. So here, where we need to specify it. Where?
Under the method.
Under the method. Okay. So instead, here I'm going to specify is this particular. Okay. So is my keyword to define my trait. Okay. So which keyword we are using for resource type? What is the keyword that we have defined inside my main YAML file?
Types.
Yeah, types. Okay. So here we are defining this particular thing by referring this particular keyword. So these keywords are important for your interview questions. Okay. So they will try to ask, hey, what is the keyword that you will try to use it? Hey, type we are using for resource type, and is my keyword to define my this particular traits. Okay. So if you are having something like multiple traits, you can define something like this. Okay, with comma, you can define something like that. Okay, or else you can define the other way around. Okay, so this is nothing but, okay, so you can specify something like this. Okay. Not bad. This way you need to, this way. And make sure that you mention your proper indentation. If you are not mentioning your proper indentation, it will give you a hard time to understand what is the issue. Okay, so we defined traits, we defined resource types. What else we need to define it? Traits, resource type, fine. What is the other thing which
Data
is very
types.
critical? We need to
Data type.
define data types, guys. Okay, so data types also we need to create it. So where we are going to add it? So in the libraries, we are going to add that particular data types. Okay, so someone will call like, with a different name. So, but at least I will try to call it as data types. Okay, so you are creating all these things are, your kind of reusable components. You can use these particular data types into multiple ways, but at least at this level, we are trying to construct data types, which is very specific to my request and responses. Okay, so how to construct this particular data types? How to add a data type? On what basis we are going to add it? Okay, so this particular host organization's request, we are expecting something like this. Okay, so the field is something like this. The string we are expecting. This ID
Number.
is a number. Yeah.
Remaining all are except postal code, all are in string.
Yeah, except postal code. I mean, so at least we are trying to understand. So these kind of data types, what we are expecting for this particular field, we are going to specify it inside this particular, data types. Okay. So those data types also we need to write it, and it is, strict to like, one specific resource. Okay. So what we are expecting as a request, what we are giving. So this particular data types is going to give some more information to in the exchange. Hey, this is the kind of string that we're expecting. So this is a required field. So you must need to pass it. So these kind of things we are going to define it inside your data types. Okay. These kind of, construction. Okay. We are going to define it inside your, real-time process. Some of the things we will not define it. Okay. Whenever we are learning it. So for, learning sake, we will try to say, hey, resource type is this thing, trait is this thing, or something like that. But all these things we will try to define it to maintain the integrity of your resource. Okay. So any request which is not obeying your data type will not allowed inside your system API. Because if you are still getting that particular information, you're passing it to your external system, that will reject it. Okay, so if that particular piece is rejecting, why not? Why you are accepting that particular incoming request? You should stop it over there. You should not execute anything. Okay, so you're strictly validating that particular data types. But who is going to validate this particular data types? So you're saying that, hey, Amar, I will try to define some data type, saying that, hey, this particular SFDC ID is number or something. But who is responsible to validate that particular? Which component is going to validate that?
That mapping sheet.
Technically speaking, mapping sheet is for our sake to define this particular data type. Okay, by looking at mapping sheet, I'll try to define data type. That's cool. Okay, but when actually you're deploying your application into runtime manager, if someone is saying, hey, I'm not sending a number in, I'll try to send a string. Okay, so which component is going to validate that particular piece?
API kit router.
Cool. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. Your API kit router is going to validate these kind of things, right? Okay. Your validations, everything, your API kit router is going to validate this. Okay. So make sure that you understand that particular, because you can actually disable these validations on the fly by specifying that particular API kit router. Okay. You're just try to understand this thing. Let me open something. Object stores. So okay. Yes. So I'm just giving you some insight on API kit router. It is for you can actually explore this thing by doing some exercise. See this thing, disable validations. Okay. So if you are selecting this particular disable validations, you are adding that particular thing. Disable validations is equal to true, which means that your data types and other things are going to validate it or not. So try to test it. Okay, but at least we will try to see the data types also. Once that particular construction is completed, so we will try to implement that particular API inside our Anypoint Studio. So before going to that level, we need to talk about your repositories and your project management tools. Which project management tool we are going to use it? So any project management tool that you are aware of?
Jira.
Jira. Okay, so most of the companies will try to use Jira. Okay, even DevOps also they might use it, but even that one also I'll try to give some insight. Okay, but at least we will try to create some Jira events. Okay, which means that we will try to create some Jira tasks. Okay, and how to update those things, how to update that particular status. Okay, in what level they are going to create it. So those things we will try to see it. Okay, and apart from this, we need to have our Git repository also. Okay, so make sure that you get some insight on Jira and Git repo for tomorrow's class. Okay, so I'll try to explain. I mean, so what is a Git repository, and at least if you have some idea before coming to the class, you will have you're easily understand. Okay, so the things that we are telling here, you just need to construct it inside your mind. Okay, so that kind of visualization will present only if you have some information before coming to the class. Okay, make sure that you just at least get some insight about your Git repositories and your Jira tool. Okay, clear, or any questions here? Okay, so we are going slow. I'm sure. Okay, but it is for our sake that we need to keep it a slow paced manner, not like telling everything in a one particular thing. Okay, once we construct one particular API, then we will try to take it. I mean, so we are using the same concepts over and over. Okay, but at that time you just need to tell it, hey, what to write, how to write, what is the next step. Okay, that level of confidence I needed, because that is how we will try to put it inside your interviews, and that is where we will try to use it inside your real time also. Okay, anything? Can we get the PDF files and all documents necessary to go to practice? Yes, definitely. I'll try to give it to you. Okay, but at least at this particular moment of time, so don't ask me until and unless we complete this particular system API. Okay, then we will try to give it to you so you can practice. Any other thing?
So in the API read code kit router, there is a validation check.
Yeah,
mark,
you
right?
can actually disable validation.
Okay.
This one. Okay. I mean, so in practical sense, we will not use it, but whenever we were testing some, some other, aggressive scenarios or something like, by functionality sake, we are testing without passing something, as we will try to disable it. Okay. Any other questions?
So I had a question related to security schemes. So once the security scheme has been added to the design of a RAML, so and we import the RAML into AnyPoint Studio, which part or where do we generally find these in utilization? Because at the end, when we have a fully constructed API, we generally go ahead with adding up policies which again utilize the same security scheme contents, just like client ID enforcement and OAuth or like any of these. So is it like that we need to add these twice in the implementation or
No,
like
not required. Not required.
okay.
So your policy manager, you are going to apply your policies, right? That will take care of your these things. Okay. So your security context will be applied at policy level, and that's where your the actual client ID client secret will resolve, because that you are trying to create a client application, Ashish. Okay. So that particular client ID client secret, you're using a client application. So the exact client ID client secret, they need to pass it. Your local application or your standalone application doesn't know what is that particular exact key or ID or secret. Okay. That resolution will happen at API manager level, the policy context level. Okay. You don't require to add it twice. But I mean, so you will try to add this particular client ID client secret, right? Okay, and you will try to add or enforce that particular policy at API manager level.
Yeah. So in this situation, if we follow this approach, like I just had, it might sound like a little silly, but why are we actually utilizing the security schemes concept? We could add that at the end and just the only thing or the only reason we have our ML is to get the design reviewed, right?
Yeah, design reviewed, but the thing is, so if I'm not adding this particular client ID client secret in the headers, okay, my exchange will try to add it to something like, is my exchange is going to tell the story saying that you need to pass client ID client secret?
Okay, yes. Now I understand better. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So any other thing, guys? If no questions, I will go with sorry, Ravi Teja, right? So you're asking something.
Yeah. Actually, what that is JSON
Sir,
placeholder.
Okay, just a moment. So
One
someone
question.
is asking. Yeah, go on.
యాక్చువల్గా ఎక్స్టర్నల్ సిస్టమ్ ఆర్ క్లయింట్ రిక్వెస్ట్ రెస్పాన్స్
No issue. Okay. So one thing, guys. Okay. So even if you're talking in Telugu or at least like Hindi, I can understand bit, but it is not like your language barrier. It should not. Okay. మీరు తెలుగులో మాట్లాడండి, ఇంగ్లీష్ లో మాట్లాడండి, బట్ మీకు ఉన్న డౌట్ అయితే అడగండి. అదేనా? So it is not like I'm trying to talk in English specifically or something like that. Don't take it that way. Okay. Yeah, go on. Yeah,
క్లయింట్ రిక్వెస్ట్ అండ్ రెస్పాన్స్ ని మనము సిస్టమ్ ఏపీఐకి మీన్స్ సిస్టమ్ ఏపీఐలో ఫీల్డ్స్ లో డిజైన్ చేస్తున్నాం కదా సార్. అది టార్గెట్ సిస్టమ్ అంటే ఏదైతే ఎక్స్టర్నల్ సిస్టమ్ నుంచి ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఏపీఐకి, ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఏపీఐ నుంచి ప్రాసెస్ అండ్ సిస్టమ్, దెన్ కమింగ్ టు ది టార్గెట్ సిస్టమ్. So whatever client is requesting in external system, the same thing we are directly accessing with the సిస్టమ్ ఏపీఐ ఆర్ టార్గెట్ సిస్టమ్. ఇది కరెక్టే అండి స్టేట్మెంట్?
అంటే మీరు ఇక్కడ ఈ పర్టికులర్ టార్గెట్ సిస్టమ్ ఏదైతే ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుందో అక్కడ సేమ్ థింగ్ ని మీరు డిఫైన్ చేసుకుంటారు సిస్టమ్ ఐపీలో. ఓకే, ఎందుకు అంటే కనెక్టివిటీ ఒకటే రాస్తాం మనం. ఓకే, కొన్ని స్పెసిఫిక్ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ లో ఎలా చేస్తారంటే, ఓకే, సో
సిస్టమ్ లో డిఫైన్ చేస్తారో అవే మనం సిస్టమ్ ఏపీఐ లో కూడా డిఫైన్ చేస్తాం.
సిస్టమ్ ఏపీఐలో మీరు రాసే ర్యామెల్ లో మీరు తీసుకునే రిక్వెస్ట్ అదే హైరార్కీ, అదే స్ట్రక్చర్ ఉండేటట్టు చూసుకుంటారు. ఎందుకు ఇలా చూసుకుంటారు అంటే, సో ఈ పర్టికులర్ డేలో ప్రాసెస్ ఏపీఐ ఇది రాసాం మనం. ఓకే, సో రేపు వేరే ఇంకోటి ఏదో వస్తుందండి, వేరే ఎక్స్టర్నల్ అప్లికేషన్ ఏదో వస్తుంది. సో మీరు ఆ పర్టికులర్ స్ట్రక్చర్ ని మీరు ఇక్కడ మెయింటైన్ చేస్తున్నారు అనుకోండి, సో మీరు ఓవర్ ఆఫ్ ద పీరియడ్ మీరు ఈ పర్టికులర్ పీస్ ని చేంజ్ చేసిన పెద్ద ఇబ్బంది పడతాయి. ఓకే, సో అంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ లైక్ పాయింట్ టు పాయింట్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్స్ ని ఎలిమినేట్ చేయడానికి మనం ఈ లేయర్స్ ని తీసుకుంటాం. ఓకే, బట్ మేక్ షూర్ దాట్ అంటే ఇట్ డిఫైన్స్ యువర్ ఆర్కిటెక్ట్ లెవెల్ ఆఫ్ అండర్స్టాండింగ్. ఓకే, సో ఈ పర్టికులర్ పీస్ లో ఎందుకు ఇలాగే తీసుకుంటాం అంటే వీఆర్ టార్గెట్ ఓన్లీ కనెక్టివిటీ పార్ట్ హియర్ ఇన్ ద సిస్టమ్ ఏపీ. ఓకే, సో నా పర్టికులర్ సిస్టమ్, నా టార్గెట్ సిస్టమ్ ఏదైతే ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుందో అదే దాన్ని తీసుకుంటాను. దీనికి అంతకు మించి ఇప్పుడు సపోజ్ మై టార్గెట్ సిస్టమ్ ఈస్ ఎక్స్పెక్టింగ్ an XML format rather than application JSON. Take that example. Okay, but here we are not going to take XML input. We will take a JSON input, we will convert into XML and we will try to pass it to this particular thing. Only that particular piece we need to do it inside your this particular thing. Okay, why we are doing it is because if we are passing XML format from process API to system API, you are passing too much of additional metadata. Why I'm saying that? Okay, so just assume that this is my organization name, key value pay. If I want to define it using XML, so how to define it? So what's the difference between these two? What you will see?
Format is different.
Anything other
Only
than format?
JSON and only XML.
So this is application JSON, this is application XML. What is the fundamental difference do you see?
Key structure.
Your key is repeating, which means that for a
Yes.
simple key value pair, you are additionally passing this particular additional bytes. So this is only for one particular field. Let us say you are passing 100 fields. So those 100 keys will be repeated. So it is adding a network bandwidth, network jitter, network latency, all these things. That's why I will go with application JSON between my internal application. Okay, so once I pass application JSON to my system API, but my external application or my target system is expecting XML format, that particular conversion or that particular transformation, I will do it in system API. Other than that, nothing I will try to do it inside my system API other than connecting to my external system. Clear?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so someone is asking, Helen, you're asking to change it to 8 a.m.
If it's possible.
Okay, so what about others?
8 a.m. I am attending now Kishore sir's class, but the class is almost about to complete, I think, basic course class. So
For me also 8 a.m. is fine.
if Kishore sir it is not there, it's I mean 1 or 2 classes more he said. I'm not sure if you can ask him. And